Bayside said, good evening, fellas, Xander and Steve, and everyone else in the world. And Steve responds with, what's up, Bayside? Xander, let me borrow some money. Y'all, I don't got it. But real quick, let me do this for Bayside real quick because he's one of my long standing. Always appreciate Bayside for coming into the show. We're going to be dealing with some questions and comments from the fans for today. And tomorrow we're going to be covering how the politics are working. So you guys mentioned something about Donald Trump saying or doing something stupid. We're going to be looking into that to see exactly how ridiculous it is, because we're going to be covering how things change in our culture. But I like to do that for my man Bayside when he comes in. Really appreciate that. So Tuesday, keep in mind Tuesday, I want to make sure that y'all know Monday night, I'm going to be letting y'all know to do what y'all got to do with your trades for the week, because you need to free up some cash before Thursday so that you can buy on Thursday your global net stock and get back on the dividend rotation strategy. The global net stock, we have a lot of time after we buy it to sell, because the next stocks to buy are Orchid Island and AGNC that are due at the end of the month. So we've only got 3 more stocks that we can buy in July that are worth buying. So after the 11th, we can sell on the 12th or anytime after the 12th. So if Global Net takes a little bit of a dip, we can hold on to the stock long enough for it to rectify and exceed our buy-in value, and then sell a little bit later. Because actually, I'm encouraging people to get into Zim, which is due on the 2nd, which means you have to buy it before the 1st. And if you're buying it before the 1st, you're probably not going to be investing in AGNC and Orchid Island, because Zim is giving you 74 cents a share, where Orchid Island and AGNC are giving you 12 cents a share. And even with 3 months at one time, that's 36 cents a quarter, where Zim being 74 cents a quarter is a higher payout. Even when I'm looking at the dollar for dollar value of Orchid Island versus Zim, where I do believe that Zim is close to $16 a share, you're looking at buying 2 stocks of Orchid Island for 1 stock of Zim. And when you're looking at 2 stocks of Orchid Island being 24 cents a share, you multiply that by 3 months and you start getting closer to 74 or 72 cents a share. And that is close to the 74 cents a share from Zim, but Zim is a one-hit wonder. So with Zim, you hit it this time and you're not going to see it again for 3 more months, and you can get that value. So we're trying to see what we can do about getting that money. Steven said, yeah, every single day, a new law. So tiring. The law change that we're going to be dealing with. So I'm going to be seeing how everything's going to be changing. The laws change every couple years, and you got to go look at the laws. You got to go back. The laws that you once knew from 5 or 10 years ago, you memorized them, right? You have to go back and look at those exact same laws and see the wording. If you memorize laws based on its statute, you need to be able to go back and look up the statute and see if the law is still identified the same way, because the law might be edited. And if it is edited, the statute might be changed. So you might have like 1, 2, 3 subsection ABC, and you might have to change it. It might be 479 DEF. You might have to go back and find that statute, make sure that statute still exists the way you remember it. Because as chaos happens in society, the laws are adjusted to suit the current society. So the only time a law is made is when something is happening too much or not enough to bring balance, because it's more of a moral outline. It's not like a slave ship. What the freest parts of this country is that you technically don't have to obey the laws. You just have to not get caught breaking the laws by somebody who gives a shit enough to complain about the fact that you're not obeying the laws. However, the laws are designed to keep structure. And the fact is that if in the event you change your mentality, before we start getting into these questions and comments today, if you, in the event you change your mentality to basically only giving a shit about what you're entitled to by right, things that can't be taken from you by law, things that can't be impeded on you by law, then you have less stuff to get pissed off about. You can see a car triple parked in the parking lot, and as long as it's not blocking your ability to get out, even if you've got to wiggle your way into your car to get out, don't worry about that shit, because it is not negatively impacting you. Only when it is directly impacting your ability to function, then and only then can you bitch about it and not be a Karen. So when you start talking about your constitutional rights, when you start talking about your state given rights to exist safely, to exist without your stuff being damaged or jeopardized, to exist without being financially compromised by what's going on around you, beyond your consent, that allows you to be able to handle things on a day-to-day basis with less stress. When you start having pet peeves, like somebody parked on a sidewalk and you're pissed off about it because you got to walk around the vehicle, or somebody stops their car on the crosswalk instead of behind the crosswalk, instead of you walking in front of the vehicle, and whatever, just let that shit go, because it's not like you walking outside of the crosswalk is not something you would have done anyway. If there wasn't a crosswalk nearby and you wanted to cross the street, you're not going to go all the way down to the end of the block, cross the street, and come all the way back. You're going to cut right here. So since you would have cut anyway, if it convenienced you, don't bitch about the fact that you got to go around the vehicle that parked on top of the crosswalk. As long as they didn't park on top of the crosswalk as you were walking on a crosswalk where you and the vehicle could have collided had you been one step faster, then you could be like, hey, what's up, dude? You could have knocked me out, impeding your ability to function. So when we pay attention to the laws, we want to pay attention to how they're negatively impacting our money. We want to pay attention to how they're negatively impacting our savings and our profits. If it's not negatively impacting our savings or our profits, then we're good. If it's not negatively impacting the way that we spend money, then we're good. If we do not have a problem, the laws can be the laws. There are some laws that come out that we need to know about, like when Louisiana put out that law this time last year talking about castrating men for catching that case with that chick that said she was old enough but turned out not to be. Knowing that, got to be more careful, especially if you're in Louisiana. You just got to know that you're learning how to determine that it is a valid ID card, and you are looking for the authenticity of that ID card. You're not just asking them for their name, you're asking them for their government identification card. You want to take that ID card, maybe take a photo of that bad boy, run it through your database, make sure that she's legal, because you don't want to catch no case. Female's gonna be like, oh no, that's creepy. You say that, but you're not the one that's gonna get castrated if I lie. That's the difference. You're not the one whose whole gender identity will be snatched off of your body if I lie. So I got to be a little bit more careful about when I'm talking to females in Louisiana. But outside of those kind of laws, and then the laws in California where popping fireworks can lead you to jail time and high fines, instead of popping fireworks, you might want to let loose some guns. It's like, hey, if you're going to be sitting in jail anyway, firearms is a little bit more fun. So with that being said, let's go ahead and tiptoe into tonight's episode. It looks like we have a reasonable quantity of internet service today. The internet's been spotty all the time, but it is getting a little bit better. We got us a access point to add to the amplification of our signal. Didn't help today. We still lost signal at like 7:30. So and 620. So like every 45 minutes, like the signal is like middle finger in the air. And right now we've got 1 bar. So we're hoping at 720p that we're not going to experience too many glitches in the network. But there was a lot of things going on earlier because everybody was still trying to enjoy the last bits of the 4th of July weekend. And during peak season, we have low quality bandwidth. So let's go ahead and get started with these questions and comments. These are some interesting ones. I did not vet them. I threw them in there, but it looked like the people had good grammar. So this should be interesting because when they have good grammar, they put a lot of thought into it. Not necessarily because they know how to read, write, and spell. Everybody is subconscious about their text. They don't want to seem stupid, so they will put more effort into proper grammar, proper spelling, proper verbiage to make sure that they're not being devalued on their social media comments based on the spelling of the concern or complaint. I like those because I don't have to edit those in any way, shape, or form. It's just plug and play, and then you guys can hear it and be like, ah, okay. Then you've got some that I don't know why they put this thought into the World Wide Web, but when they put this thought into the World Wide Web, as anonymous as I'm going to keep them, that thought should have stayed to yourself. You know, when you was younger and your mama said that if you ain't got nothing nice to say, don't say nothing at all. Well, that's one of them scenarios where you probably should have kept that thought to yourself. However, we're going to go in on some of them. So let's go ahead and take a look at what we got going on today.
Every night I'm forced to stay up, even if I've got work at 5 to 6 a.m. She makes me stay till 1 a.m. most nights, and by most nights I mean May 7th days of the week. If I tell her no, it leads to a massive argument, and I end up staying till 1 a.m. anyways. Always threatening the relationship whenever we get into an argument, always guilt-tripping me. I'm genuinely so exhausted and I don't know what to do. She's super clingy, which was nice at the start, but now it's too much. I want some me time, but I can't get that anymore. What can I do? Please help.
All right. So in this situation, you got to work at 5 a.m. She's trying to do stupid shit at 1 o'clock in the morning. The answer is no. What do you do about that? We talked about it a couple days ago, Friday, I do believe. Specifically Friday, we talked about setting those non-negotiable expectations. This is not her treating you a certain way. This is her ego. About so specifically, this is you're going to have to set expectations because you have to go to work at 5 a.m. You're probably going to have to get up at 4 a.m. or you might be getting up at 5 a.m. so that you can leave for work by 6 to be at work by 7. Let's say that's the scenario. If you're getting up at 5 a.m., you need to have 6 to 8 hours of sleep before that. So if you wind the clock back 6 to 8 hours from 5 a.m., you're putting it at somewhere around 10 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock at night, something to that effect. With that being said, whatever the hell she want to do better be done by 10 or 11 o'clock. If not, it's got to wait until I get off from work. So either she needs to start her activity 30 minutes after you get home from work, because you do got to get home from work, get out of your uniform, rest your feet a little bit, take your shower, and then get into the nitty gritty. Or it can start later in the evening, but it's got to stop by bedtime. She can be a night owl, but while you're at work, she's asleep. So she has to have respect for your ability to get rest, because you're going to work to make at least some of the money, if not all of the money, to take care of this household. And if she does not have enough respect for you to value your time, then you need to rethink your position anyway. As it pertains to her threatening the relationship, that is, again, her ego. And that's also a crutch tool, because a lot of people know that men are emotionally invested in their relationships and financially invested as well. And truth, men are more emotionally invested in their financial investment, that is in the relationship. So a lot of the times, while they might have an emotional attachment for you that has dwindled down, they're still emotionally attached to the financial investment that they have made in you, the years and dollar signs that they have put into trying to make this relationship work, and the cost that the man always has to incur to dissolve the relationship are two things that men focus on why they stay in a relationship that they're not happy in. Women don't have to do that. She don't like what's going on. She can take all of his stuff with her and leave. And what is he going to do about it? Right? Where her house could be full of all of her ex-boyfriends, plural, stuff. But she got a lot of nice things. They're from her exes. Guys, no, they're losing things. They're liquidating in order to make sure that they part ways with the other person without having to go through court. Whether he leaves her with the apartment and the car and he moves on, or she takes all of whatever she wants to take out off with, and whatever's not gutted out of the house stays, and that prevents him from having to evict her and other stuff, fine. Parting ways is never easy, and parting ways is never equal, especially when you guys move in together and you blend your stuff. What's yours is not yours anymore, and what's mine is not mine anymore. And sometimes your favorite item is not the thing that you bought, but the thing that you don't care about might be something that you bought. So you might leave something that you bought for us, and you might take something that I bought for us, and we just got to part ways on an appropriate fashion and just let it happen. So when it comes to that, no person, male or female, in a relationship should ever be threatening the relationship as a control tactic to win an argument, as a control tactic to get their way, or as a dominating scenario in a relationship. If you have to threaten your relationship, the relationship is damn near, if not already, over. When I tell you guys to let your partner know that you yourself will be removing yourself from this relationship if a certain level of satisfaction is not met, that is a last straw scenario. Your relationship has already been on academic probation, where it's already been made known that we're gonna reassess the validity of this relationship. We're gonna readdress how solid the foundation is in this relationship. We're gonna start putting some extra attention into rectifying this relationship, and then we're going to evaluate the standings of our relationship over the next 90 days. That academic probation. If we want to stay in this relationship, we need to reevaluate the respect that we have for each other. Right? So if she doesn't care, it's time to go. If she's not going to prioritize you, it's time to go. Specifically because this is you trying to get up and go to work, not you trying to hang out with your homeboys, not you trying to hang out at your uncle house and roll dice or something like that. This is you trying to get some sleep so that you can get up and go to work in the morning. You should be able to stand on non-negotiable expectations for behavior, and whatever she got to say, she can say it. But you're going to stand on principle. You're not going to threaten her. Oh, well, if you leave, then I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. It's like, well, look, at 9:30, I'm going to bed because I have to get up for work in the morning. Whatever you want to do with me, you do that before 9:30. At 9:30, when my alarm goes off, I am going to stop doing whatever it is that we're doing together, and I am going to bed. And I will not engage until after I get up in the morning for work. And I will not be late for work. I will do what I got to do to get dressed for work. I will acknowledge you on my way out the door, but I'm going to work. After I get home from work, you will have my undivided attention. But until then, I need to get my sleep. So if you are doing something, watching a movie, cooking, playing games, you must get it done before 9:30. You stand on those principles. You're not threatening her. She's, oh, well, if you don't love me anymore, blah, 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 then I'm going to leave. Well, I'm going to bed at 9:30. If you're not here when I wake up, I'm going to bed at 9:30, and then I'm going to work at 5 a.m. Whatever you decide to do is up to you. And you don't even call her bluff. Don't say, oh, well, I dare you to leave. Nah, because they'll do it just to prove to you that they will. You let them do whatever they want to do. But if she decides to pack up all her stuff and leave while you're in bed asleep, while you're at work, go buy you a set of locks. When you come back from work, before you take your uniform off, change the locks on the house so that she can't come back talking about some, oh, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. No, you didn't. You made the right choice because I co-signed on your decision after you left. That's exactly how you got to deal with that situation. If she's clingy, she's going to be dealing with emotional issues, abandonment issues, and the feeling for control. This is her ego that is feeling the need to control your attention to her. She might not feel like she's getting enough of it because you work so much. But if she got out there and worked more, you would be able to work less, because if y'all are on a limited income because you're not balling out of control, y'all don't got enough money, she could preoccupy her time with a second job. And then when she get off from work, she too tired for this bullshit. And then y'all can still give each other whatever attention that y'all got time for, but you would be able to work less because there's more money coming in between the two of y'all. Just two incomes. It don't matter if y'all both got two jobs and y'all are both working 15 hours a week on each job or 20 hours a week on each job, and you're offsetting both of them, and y'all just got 1 day a week off one another. Or if each one of y'all got one job and y'all working 5 days a week on each job, or 6 days a week on each job, y'all could be smart about it, and both of y'all work the same schedule where y'all both leave the house if y'all not sharing the same car, and y'all both work days or y'all both work nights, so that when y'all get off, y'all are off like 30 minutes to an hour difference from one another, but y'all got the whole evening to yourselves or the whole morning to yourselves, so that y'all don't miss each other because one's working days and one's working nights. But if you got that much free time on your hands that you got to worry your partner's not, go get you a fucking job. You don't have enough work time because y'all not rich. If y'all was rich, he would not have to work as much, and then he could give you all the attention that you deserve. But you did not earn his undivided attention if he's got to work two jobs and he's got to get up at 5, and you want him to cuddle with you at 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, making this man live off of 3 hours of sleep, knowing that type of fatigue can cause short-term memory loss and all kinds of other health issues, including anxiety. And you don't care. And you do realize that when you're dealing with health issues like this, you start leading into, in both male and females, intimacy issues due to lack of sleep, fatigue, insomnia. So even intimacy is going to be less gratifying in scenarios where your partner is exhausted mentally and emotionally. So you want to make sure that you keep them rested, especially if you're wearing them out doing that. You want to keep them rested. So if your partner's not trying to show you the respect that you need, bro, you need to set some issues, set some ground rules, some non-negotiable expectations for behavior, and then stand on that. The more you flex on what you think is best for you in the relationship, the less a uncaring partner will care about what is best for you. Now, a caring partner will recognize your self-sacrifice and then reciprocate that sacrifice by providing you with whatever it is that you're sacrificing yourself for. So if you're not getting enough sleep, they're going to make you go to bed early. If you're not getting enough to eat, they're going to make you eat more food. If you're not buying reasonable outfits where your clothes are up to date, you got holes and stains and stuff in your clothes, they will buy you new clothes to make sure that you have clothes, because they understand that you're making that sacrifice and doing without for the sake of them. So they're going to make sure you're not going to do without, and they're going to get for you what you're sacrificing so that you are not doing without. That is a person that values you. But if you're sacrificing yourself, if you're sacrificing sleep because they demand it, if you're sacrificing your last meal because they demand it, if you're sacrificing keeping yourself reasonably appropriate and tired because they demand it, they're not showing you the value in you that you're showing in them. And reciprocation is how relationships last longer. So let's go ahead and double check with the next one. Some of these are interesting.
The girl from my job, I've been in the process of moving on from, just had her last day today. Part of me is glad, not because there was any bad blood between us, but seeing the person you still have feelings for daily really slows down the moving on process. Shit was starting to take its toll on me mentally, especially witnessing and hearing about their involvement with other coworkers. Either case, it was her last day. They coincidentally had her working in my section, so we chopped it up for a bit, joked around, and that was that. Kinda sucked 'cause she left without a goodbye, but it is what it is. Part of me will miss her, and another part of me feels free now. It's a weird, bittersweet feeling, but I'm happy it's over now.
Men have this very bad problem with not letting go. We understand that when we end up in relationships, even if it's supposed to be like just a to do thing, we end up attached. And this is why friend zone is a bad thing, because there is an emotional attachment there. Even though we're no longer sleeping together, there is an emotional attachment there, and we have to pretend like there isn't. The upside of dating a coworker is that if you spend 80% of your life at work, you can find you a partner that can resonate with your lifestyle because they do exactly the same thing that you do. The downside of dating a coworker is when things get awkward at work. If you guys can part ways appropriately off the job, where your ability to coexist on the job doesn't compromise your work ethic to the magnitude where the boss is wondering why you two are weird with one another, then you're good. But emotionally, you still got a problem, because while this might have just been something to do for her, because apparently she's sleeping with other coworkers on a job, for you, it meant something, and it is not something that you're capable of letting go so easily. So yeah, it sucks. And that is one of the reasons why it's discouraged to have relations with individuals that you work with. Now, individuals that work in the same field as you, that's not that much of a problem. So let's say that you work at a Burger King chain and you're dating one of the coworkers in a different store. That's fine, because y'all don't work on the same shift. Y'all don't have the same schedule. You got to clock out of your store, drive to her store to go see what's going on. But y'all can still resonate with one another because y'all know what it's like, because y'all work for the same company, just in different locations. If y'all fall apart, doesn't matter. The likelihood of you covering a shift at her store is slim. You have to volunteer for that because y'all don't work in the same store. So you're not going to cross paths accidentally. See what I'm saying? Or forced to be cross paths because the boss don't know that y'all got stuff going on outside the job. But beyond that, yeah, it's a terrible situation. Me, myself, I don't see why. Oh yeah, definitely go ahead, tap out. Tomorrow we're going to be talking about some political ways as to how things are going to be negatively impacting our money. And tomorrow I'm going to be reminding y'all about the stocks, and then I'm going to be letting y'all know how the stocks have changed, because the stocks are going to start working at 9:30 in the morning, and by 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the shifts in Two Harbors should have occurred. And then we're going to start getting back into our dividend rotation strategy. And if I find other investments that are worth looking into, then I'll update you guys on that as well, because we're going to be talking about on Tuesday how to assess your millionaire status. So I'm going to see you tomorrow. Definitely swing by, and any information that I throw down on those money days, I'm going to be throwing into the comment section. All of the stocks that we're going to be talking about and all of the values that we need to pay attention to, so that we know what's going on. And hopefully we're looking at a decent profit this time around, because from what I've seen, it looked like it might be a lot, because there was a few hundred shares that was picked up. So we're going to see what's going on. I think we've just about crossed over about $1,000 to $1,500 worth of profits off of 1 month worth of trades. So hopefully we keep that trend going, but and we're expanding by a lot every month, and that is a big deal. That is a big deal, because we started with almost 1,000. Like I think we had like around 750 when we started. Now we're working our way up to about 5,000. So we're going to see exactly how much we have by the time we finish the full 12 months, because you can get 168% if you're hitting the right marks on the right times, and you're definitely not taking any financial losses during your trades. It's all about waiting until it recaps and then getting rid of it when it's high or when you break even. Even if you lose 1 cent per share off the sale, that's fine. That's way better losing 1 cent per share off of because if you lost 1 cent per share off of like 300 shares, you only lost $3 in comparison to your buy-in. And if you got like $100 or $200 off of the buy, offset by the 3 shares, you might be walking away with like $97 or $197, but you still walked away with a hell of a lot of money. So offsetting the difference between the sale and the dividends that are dispersed, that's what we look for. Now, moving on, we're going to go ahead and touch base with the next one, see how we do.
It's crazy how much location matters. I know it's statistics, but still. I lived in a rural part of a state for almost 2 years. I was on every dating app and maybe got like 10 total matches, but 0 phone numbers and 0 dates. I moved to a city with a metro population of 2 million, and it took me only 1 month to get a date set up. Thank you, FB Dating. And I've had more matches in that month than I did in the sticks.
Well, that's a good assessment. One thing that you guys got to recognize is if you're not finding what you're looking for in the neighborhood that you're in, you need to go look in another neighborhood. Back before the internet, if we were looking for somebody, we would try to find somebody inside of like a 30 block radius, someplace. When we were kids, if we could ride a bike there, we would see what's going on. When we started meeting people at school, they would catch a bus, which means that the radius increased. So now we're looking at a 30 to 45 minute bike ride distance when we were kids. When we became adults, young adults, and we were driving cars, it was a 20 or 30 minute driving distance, which is a heck of a lot farther than a 20 or 30 minute bike ride distance, 45 minute bike ride distance. And the adventure to get there was part of the excitement of being there. And then we would go and do stuff and everything like that. Now that we have social media, distance is not an option when you're deciding on the meet online. Distance becomes problematic when you start talking about having an in-person relationship with an online match. If you're not finding somebody in the city that you're in, you have to expand the dating range based on how far you're willing to drive in one direction to get to the person. So you got to think about this now. Within 100 miles of where you are, at an average speed of about 80 miles an hour on the interstate, that's what you're thinking about doing. 80 miles an hour on the interstate is about an hour to go about 80 miles. So you're looking at about an hour and 10 minute drive in one direction, which is about a 2.5 hour round trip drive for a 100 mile distance in one direction. Then when you start thinking about 250 miles, you're thinking about a 3-hour round trip distance, or the little over 3-hour round trip distance, because at approximately 80 miles an hour, you're going to be driving for about 3 hours and 20 minutes to get to this person in one direction, which is about the equivalent of driving from Tampa to Miami if you're driving fast as fuck. So when you think about that, can you maintain a relationship with a 3-hour drive time? No. Then you got to start thinking about some other stuff. Because I did tell you, you can find somebody. They might not be in your city. They might not be in your state. But when you find them, then you have to figure out how you're going to make that relationship work. I say when you do meet those matches, you want to do video communication, and you want to maintain more video communication than text messages, because video communication reinforces more of the in-person engagements that you would have had y'all met in person. And then when you guys have the ability to meet each other in person, you're able to connect easily because you already know what each other looks like. You can identify each other in a crowd, and then y'all can start hanging out and doing stuff in person. Your conversations move a lot faster when you're doing virtual, and you don't have the opportunity to edit what you're saying versus the outburst that you would make in response to what you hear, which makes a more genuine connection. If there is a language barrier, it's a little bit more difficult to do virtually than it is to do via text messages, because they can use any type of translation software to take your text and translate it to their language, which they would not be able to do if they talk to you virtually. However, I have found that on Temu, there are some translation software headphones that you can put on. If it matters to them, they can try to acquire some as well, and then they can put them on. And then when you're talking to them, it'll translate into their language. And when they're talking to you, it'll translate in your language. And then y'all can listen to each other's conversation and actually improve your speech. And part of your interactions with one another could be splitting the difference between teaching each other how to use the other person's language. If y'all are going to start making yourselves more of a couple, you probably would want to spend a little bit more time, or a lot of more time, learning their language, learning what they're saying. So even as an adult, it's harder for us to learn languages that we're not using on a daily basis. So if we're learning the language so that we can understand our partner better, in a couple of years of dating, we probably would be able to solidify a better communication with them by learning a lot more of their language and them learning a lot more of ours, which gives you something to do. But just like when we talked about yesterday, when Talenia was saying that there's nobody out there for her, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, no, there's somebody somewhere. You just got to go somewhere else. If the neighborhood that you're in, the city and state that you're in, the country that you're in, you can't find somebody that meets your expectations, go to a different country. Just go to a different country. And if you can't afford to go to a different country, focus on your grind. Stop wasting time on random hookups, shallow, meaningless connections, and focus on your grind. Because once you build your money up, you can afford to go to a different dating pool, and then you can find somebody else. Preferably, you're going to want to go somewhere where they at least speak your language, even if not fluent. That way, since you have not learned their language yet, you have some level of dialogue between you and that other person so that y'all can figure this thing out. Then depending on how you travel, because here's a funny thing. If you follow my lead and you're setting up LLCs and C corporations, when you set up your visa, if you set your visa up for a business visa instead of a travel visa, a personal visa, the personal travel visa might give you like 90 days. Business visa might give you 6 months to a year. If you're traveling on business instead of traveling on personal, that give you 12 months in any country that you're going to. You don't got to stay the whole 12 months, but you don't got to leave in less than 90 days either, which gives you a little bit of time to go out there on business and potentially find somebody that you can give 12 months to before you leave. And if you're planning on taking that person back with you, if you went there and found somebody in the first 2 months, you could get to know them within 3 months, recognizing that when you leave, you're planning on taking them with you, which means that you could take the time to establish their passports and everything like that to fly back with you. And then they could fly back with you on a tourist visa or relationship visa, whatever the case may be. And then they can come to your country and see what walks of life that you got. That's an expensive relationship to have, but if you've got the kind of person from the Middle East that's going to save you money so that you can afford to fly back and forth, it's worth it. It's worth it, because when you think about the $1,500 a month that we're spending on dates in America to impress the other person, and you think about the $1,500 round trip tickets that you're paying to fly from Asia or Russia, you can save on dating, on the dating process, and put that towards a plane ticket, because you already got the person that's going to give you 15 to 20 years. You just got to put it in your budget to be able to fly back when their visa runs out next season. Likewise, you will have to deal with on social media. You will have to deal with the scams. This guy was talking about how he was more successful with the hookup. He was more successful with the companionship portion of him paying for the dates. That's one of the reasons why OnlyFans and Backpage is so popular, because guys can find at the man's expense a female that will entertain his time because she doesn't have to pay for anything. But when you start looking for long-term companionship, long-term commitment, it is harder to find someone who is guaranteeing you the commitment effort out the gate. Yeah, let's hook up and see where it goes. If the sex is good long enough, I might decide to hang around. That's the mentality of the current culture. But the truth is that when the current culture reaches middle age, 35, 40, 45, they start looking for that exact same companionship. But the dynamics are going to be different, because the females in their 30s and 40s are not going to readily be able to find matches that are also in their 30s and 40s. And the fellas in their 30s and 40s are still looking at the women that are in their 20s. So the dynamics are not the same, which ultimately means that if your mentality early on is to find a partner that you can grow with, the younger you are when you lock in on this person, the more time you have to make your relationship successful. And if you're focusing on making your finances successful in your relationship while focusing on making your relationship successful, just like back in the 60s and 70s, both of you will be too financially invested into this relationship to sacrifice this relationship on petty bullshit. Especially if you're working your way towards millionaire status. You don't want to have a millionaire status relationship where one of you got to give up $500,000 to break up. Instead, y'all be like, nah, fuck that. Let's make this money, make more money for us. We can forgive each other. I'll buy you a Porsche. Fuck it. Let's not make this a habit. You see what I'm saying? But think about the decisions that you're making. When you have nothing to lose and you have nothing to gain, it's easy to throw a relationship away. But when you're financially invested in a relationship, when it's not just the best parts of your youth that's invested in this, you typically the relationships you're stuck. They call them anchor babies, because when you have children, the children are the reason why y'all don't break up, even though y'all despise each other. But when the children, the house, the cars, all the money is there, and there's entitlement for more money coming in, future deals being made, the money is multiplying rapidly. Nobody wants to walk out of that situation. Nobody wants to walk out of a situation where their involvement multiplies in magnitudes every year. They can be like, nah, fuck, I need to figure out a way to fix this, because even if I left with a percentage of this motherfucker gonna be making a shit ton of money while I'm gone. I need to figure out how to make this work with this person, because I could struggle by myself, or I could get along with this person and we won't have to struggle no more. See what I'm saying? It's all in the mentality. Let's go ahead and check on the next one.
My girlfriend broke some of our relationship agreements. Hey, I'm a 22-year-old guy, and I've been in a relationship for 3 years. I never really felt like anything was missing or wrong until recently. For some context, we had a mutual agreement from early on. Back when I was single, I was super social. But when we started dating, she made it clear she didn't like it when I talked to or about other girls, even just as friends. So I cut off a lot of friendships, even with some guy friends, and stopped talking to a bunch of people because I was focused on her. Now she started working somewhere new, where she earns more than me, which doesn't bother me, but I did notice most of her co-workers are guys. Like, she's almost the only girl there. She says she has to talk to them for work, and insists they're not really friends. But lately, she's been making comments about how much fun she has with them, and she even told me one time they were teasing her about one of her co-workers, like in a flirty way. We talked about it, and I told her she wasn't really sticking to the boundaries she set about not getting too close to the opposite sex. At first, she kind of resisted what I was saying, but eventually admitted I had a point. Honestly, I've given up a lot for this relationship. I've put most of my time and money into her. She keeps saying her co-workers are just that, co-workers, and I do want to believe her, but I've started to lose trust because of other stuff she said. Recently, she told me one of them invited her to go bowling with a group, and now she wants to buy matching headphones with that same guy because they're on sale as a pair. She's sworn to me it's nothing, just friendly. But what do you guys think? This is my first serious relationship, and I really don't know how to feel, or if I'm the one overreacting.
Okay, so from the perspective of these were her boundaries, these are her non-negotiable expectations. You cannot set standards in a relationship that you're not going to follow yourself. We understand that men are physical and women are emotional, and when we identify cheating, both men and women only identify cheating from the perspective of physical cheating, but there is emotional cheating as well. And women protect their relationship and their insecurities by demanding that a man does not have communication with the opposite sex to a magnitude where an emotional attachment can occur. There's no bonding allowed, because if a man can attach a positive emotional connection with another female outside of his relationship, he could potentially relocate his heart and his body outside of his relationship. Women are capable of having their body in one place and their heart in another, and they are more willing to and capable of establishing emotional connections in areas where the situation doesn't allow for a physical connection. The problem is that women receive validation from emotional connection. Men do not really receive validation from emotional connection. They receive validation from physical connection. While emotional connections are validating to a degree, men more thrive off of physicality, less off of emotional. So when the wife or the girlfriend is on a job full of bros who have no problems with cheating on their wives, so her saying, I've got a boyfriend or a husband, doesn't matter, because they probably got a part, which means that this is a no commitment hookup that we got going on because we both got somebody at home. The fact is that if you're going to keep it professional, you're not buddy with the help, period. You do want to establish some sort of casual rapport, but you have to reassess how you're interacting in your business life in comparison to how you expect your partner to interact in personal life. And you can't just change the rules arbitrarily just to suit your needs. You should be able to come back to your house and talk to your husband and let your husband know, hey, you know, the demands of my job is requiring me to be friendly to these people as much as I would prefer not to. And this is what we've got going on. You have to be able to draw the line somewhere when your husband or your boyfriend's telling you, well, that is starting to cross the line of the standards that you set. You should be able to dial it back a little bit, go to work and be like, yeah, I know we had a good time yesterday, but we kind of got to do less and stay more professional and just really set the bar. Now, when it comes down to the bowling, I encourage when you're in type of businesses, you're working in firms and this, that, and the third, where communication is the largest part of your job, not physical labor. You want to be in a positive position because that's how you get promoted. If you get promoted, everybody you were working with are now your subordinates, so you don't want to piss off anybody. So yeah, formulate a little bit of a professional bond, go do the bowling thing, but do the bowling thing and bring your husband, bring your boyfriend. Don't go guys night out, you're the only chick there, or guys night out and it's you and the secretary that's sleeping with one of the guys on the bowling team. That's the only ones that's going there. That's not appropriate, because at the end of the day, you're setting the standard that she's taken by one of your colleagues, you're available, and one of your colleagues wants to hook up with you. So y'all are going to hang out off the job so that HR isn't involved. And God forbid, HR is racking the pins. That makes it worse. So you want to make sure that you set standards. Now, when it comes down to those matching headphones, what the fuck are you doing? Couples do matching headphones. Couples do twin everything. Your best friend from way back when don't do matching shit when you got a husband or a boyfriend. Okay. If that person bought two because it was buy one, get one free, and they gave you one because you needed it for the damn job, then that's cool. But if you bought yourself some Dre Beats, I would not expect you to mail me a pair of Dre Beats because you feel like these phones ain't good enough. Otherwise, making the excuse of, oh, it was on sale, so I bought an extra. What really was just said was, I was at the store thinking about you when I saw this and I bought it, and now I'm bringing it to you. That is inappropriate because you got a boyfriend or a husband, and I should not be buying you shit if it's on sale and it is a buy one get one. I should tell you about the buy one get one. I should buy two. You should buy two, and you should give one to your fucking husband. That's how that shit works. It should not be, oh, we're gonna have a matching set, because first and foremost, it's mass manufactured. So everybody who buys a pair has a same fucking pair. The only time it is a matching set is when it's a his and hers set for couples. It is never simply matching. Fuck out of here. Bayside said was messy matching headphones. Man, they with that bullshit. That's what I'm trying to tell you. That's like saying, okay, y'all know Jordans is like $350 a pair. If a motherfucker came and told me that some legendary limited edition J's was out on sale for buy three for the price of one, and I could get 3 pairs of Jordans for $300 plus tax, rounded up $350, do you think that the chick at my job would get a pair of my fucking shoes? Hell to the no. First of all, I wear 13, so the fucking shoes would be too big for fucking feet. I would have to specifically be thinking about her while I'm buying this shit to get it in her size. That is inappropriate. That is showing her out the gate that this emotional bond is getting too deep, because he is thinking about you when you are not with him. And you need to put a stop to that. You need to put a stop to that. Once he told you that, you got to say, hey, that's a little bit too much. You can't be thinking about me when we not together. You shouldn't be thinking about me while we're together. You should be thinking about the moment that we're in, not me. When you start thinking about me, I need to start changing shifts. Because I'm here for money. I'm not here for friends. I don't mind having friends, but I mind not having my friends mess up my money or my relationship at home. And when I tell my husband about what's going on here, he ain't gonna like it. So don't put me in a situation where I can't have a conversation at home about what just happened at work. And that prevents the other person from overstepping. So even if he bought it thinking about you, he gonna leave that shit in the car. He ain't gonna bring it into the office. Oh, I got these Dre Beats because they was on sale. Fuck that shit. I got you the iPhone 16 because the bitch was on sale. Fuck that motherfucker. $1,600 cell phone. I don't care how cheap it was for you. $700 gift. Fuck out of here. I ain't got time for that shit. Y'all need to be setting standards. So think about this, ladies. Think about this, because some of y'all gonna say, oh, he just saying that because he's an incel. Think about this real quick. Put the shoe on the other foot. How would you feel, ladies, if your man bought some chick at his job anything because it matched what the fuck he had? He bought two, one for him, one for her, none for you. You would be pissed off. You would be pissed off, throwing heavy shit. So with that knowledge, it is inappropriate for her to accept anything from anybody on the job, because it would not be tolerated if it was the boyfriend or the husband accepting that same gift. It would not be tolerated if it was the boyfriend or the husband giving that same gift. It's all about neutrality. It's all about uniformity. what you will allow to be done in the relationship is the maximum actions that you are allowed to do. You can only trust your partner to do exactly what you would have done in the exact same situation. Now, they can surprise you and behave better than you, but they should not surprise you and behave worse than you. Plain and simple. You misjudge them if they surprised you and behave worse than you. But if they behave the way you would have behaved, even if it's a negative behavior, shit, I would have did the same thing. Somebody get run over a car and I'm gonna step over them and keep walking. If they get hit by a car, you step over them and keep walking, I'm gonna look at you like, you ain't gonna help them? I wouldn't help them neither. Come on, let's go. That's the mentality, right? But if you the kind of person that's like, oh, well, loyalty amongst loyalty. I could be in a room full of naked folks and not interact with any of them. If you're not the same person, you're going to be thinking when I walk into that room that I'm going to try to smash 2 or 3. Well, that lets me know what you was thinking, because that lets me know that if you was in a room full of naked people, you would be impulsive. But if you don't trust me, it's more because you don't trust yourself. But you're projecting that on me, and your ego self-preservation is going to make sure that I submit to your fears so that you don't feel subconscious about my actions. I am not going to submit to your fears because I was going to do whatever I was going to do, whether you're here or not. So out of respect, I don't defend myself when I do what I do. I tell you what I'm going to do in advance, and then you decide how you're going to take that. And that's going to go both ways. You're going to tell me what you're going to do in advance, and I'm going to decide how I'm going to take that. Now, I can ask you not to do certain things. I can tell you that based on certain decisions that you're going to make, that there are certain outcomes that you might not prefer. But I cannot threaten your relationship. I cannot demand stuff from you, and you can't do the same. There are certain non-negotiable expectations for behavior where there is a standard, but it's based off of mutual respect, not control. So if my decisions are to control you, that's not okay. And if your decisions are to control me, that is equally not okay. You should never get into a relationship with a woman that wants to be controlled. She's got control issues, not because she's controlling, but because she does not have the validation to be controlled. And that's going to be an issue. Because once she recovers from whatever got her feeling like she needs to be controlled by somebody else, when she recovers from that, the controlling behavior that was approved by her will then be disapproved by her, and you will not know why she's rebelling against you, because she no longer needs you to control her uncontrollable decisions. But y'all never regroup and talk about the relationship and come to understand that's no longer needed. And the lack of communication is when relationships fall apart the most. So let's go ahead and tap dance into the next one. They got some really ridiculous ones up here.
My dad, who's 53, told me he didn't want anything to do with me. And I'm 19 because I wouldn't accept his wife, who is 51, but now he changed his mind and I'm not sure what to do. I lost my mom when I was 6 and my dad remarried after 14 months. I didn't have an easy time with that. My dad expected me to be okay with everything, and when they got married, he assumed I loved his wife and wanted me to call her mom. He even bought me a gift to give her during the wedding, and because I saw it beforehand, I refused to give it to her. After the wedding was over and done with, he asked me why I had turned the gesture into such a big deal. I tried telling him that I didn't want to give her something that made her my new mom, but he talked over me and left deciding that I just had to slip up. His wife tried to be a mother to me, and I wouldn't accept her. She knew it and tried to talk me around several times. She offered to adopt me if it made me feel more secure in her love. I told her I didn't want her, I wanted hurt her feelings a bunch for the first 6 years of their marriage. She had so much hope in those years that she just needed to prove to me that she was going to be a good mom, and I'd welcome it. But nobody listened when I said I didn't want a new mom. Then when I was 10, they decided I needed therapy to help me grieve mom and come to the conclusion that it was okay to have another mom and it would be a good thing. Only therapy didn't convince me of that. If anything, it was where I found a way to better vocalize how I felt exactly. I told them I would never accept her as my mom, and that if they couldn't accept that, then I'd never call her my stepmom either. We tried family therapy for several years. They tried to use my half-siblings as a bridge between us, but they weren't, and it was too big of a task to put on their shoulders. It was actually the birth of 2 out of 4 of my half-siblings when I hurt my dad's wife the most. She told me she had them for me, so I wouldn't grow up alone or grow old alone. And I told her I didn't like her gift both times she said it. The second time, I told her I never asked for that gift. My dad grew increasingly more frustrated with my unwillingness to accept her as mom, and I grew more resentful of their efforts too. A couple of years before Dad said he was done with me, he asked me in a session if I loved my family, and I told him I loved him, always. That was all I could say. The therapist had me leave and spoke to them right then, but that stayed in Dad's mind for 2 years. When he asked me again and my answer hadn't changed much, he told me he wanted nothing more to do with me if I wouldn't accept his wife. I told him I accepted her as his wife. Said it wasn't enough. So I moved in with my grandma. We didn't speak for almost 2 years, and then a couple of weeks ago he showed up at Grandma's house telling me he missed me and he wanted to fix things between us. I asked how we could do that and had he accepted that his wife wasn't my mom. He told me that wasn't something he could tolerate, that he had hoped I had grown up enough in the 2 years to realize she was around longer than Mom and that she loved me. He said we just needed to be the family we were always supposed to be. I told him my feelings on her hadn't changed. And he acted unsure, but said he still wanted a relationship. But that confuses me because he still can't tolerate it, so now I'm not sure what to do here. And it's why I came looking for relationship advice.
Fuck him. Okay, check this out. He want the perfect marriage. Fuck wrong with him. Okay, so there is no time limit when somebody passed before you can call yourself moving on. However, socially speaking, it is a big red flag that he is married 14 months after Mom died, because you should not, that's a very short period of time to have met someone, been dating long enough to then get married. Then on top of that, if this isn't the mistress that you were sleeping with before the mom died, if this is somebody that you just met after the mom died, the children don't know this person. And likely you wasn't bringing this person around the kids until the time that you decided that you was going to get married, which ultimately means why the hell is you pushing this woman onto these children? You're never supposed to replace a child's parents, mom or dad, ever. The parent, the adult that created the child, that mom, that dad, that is that child's mom and that dad, and that void for that mom or that dad should always be there. If mom gets remarried, mom's husband is mom's fucking husband. That is not your daddy. If dad gets remarried, that's dad's wife. That's not your mom. And for them to force that on you, that is inappropriate. You are never supposed to replace the original parents for any reason. And adoption, not supposed to be a catalyst to aid in replacing the original parents. Never supposed to happen. So she loves her dad. Perfectly fine. The extended family to her, that's the in-laws, because she's part of dad's family. They're not part of her family. So that is dad's wife and dad's wife's family. Perfectly fine. You'll have siblings, half siblings. But they didn't have them kids because you asked for them. They had them kids because they wasn't wearing protection. Them kids, that's a manipulative tactic to blame the creation of them kids on your satisfaction. And you would be satisfied with them not forcing you to accept this woman as much. She could be a good female friend. She could be a good role model in the house. She don't got to be your mama. If you feel comfortable over time where this woman that made the kind of sacrifice, bailed you out of jail, got you out of a bar fight, something like that, and you decide to call her mama, that should be your choice. But they should not be forcing you to call her mom, and they should not be putting you in a position where you're misrepresenting the fact that you want her to be mom, like when he bought the gift. It's some kind of gift. I don't know what kind of gift it was, but whatever kind of gift it was, if you would have gave it to her Mom is what she would have thought you wanted her to be because you handed her whatever gift that dad bought. But that's what dad wants. That's not what you want. So you got to focus on what you want. If you want the relationship with your dad, it comes with contingencies, non-negotiable expectations for behavior. Your dead mother is the only mom that you want to have in your life. There is no other woman that's going to replace your mom or substitute your mom. Therefore, this woman is dad's wife for 14 years. Dad's wife. You don't care that she's going to be here until she dies. What you care about is that your dad is your dad, your mom is buried, and this woman is dad's wife. The kids they have is dad's family. You're willing to respect dad's family. You're not going to mistreat dad's family, but your original cast, mom buried in the ground, and dad is your family, and everybody else you will respect, but you will not replace your original family with this new family that is making your dad comfortable. You have to be comfortable too. You cannot put yourself in a position where you're sacrificing what you think and how you feel for the sake of somebody else. And when they force that on you, changing your beliefs to satisfy them, that is unsatisfactory. A lot of times there are adults that do this, that manipulate children into sacrificing the bond that they would have had with their biological parents, forcing their biological parents out of their life. It's not good for the kids. And the fact that you're bringing them to a therapist so that the therapist can aid them in pushing out their biological parents, that was a terrible parenting skill. That's not even a skill. That's a bad move as a parent. You don't get them therapy to make them see your way. The fact is that if there was an emotional concern with the child because of detachment from the dead mom, you get a therapy for that. If the wife, the new wife, is not getting along with the child, you get therapy for that. But if there isn't any beef in the family, and the only issue that you have is that the child identifies your second wife by her first name, leave that damn child alone. Let that child do her thing, because she ain't setting the house on fire. She ain't climbing out the window smoking weed with some dude 10 years older than her. She not skipping school or nothing like that. She just don't want to call this woman mama. Leave that shit alone. Leave that shit alone. Why is you making it bad? Then what's worse on this scenario, you then destroyed your relationship with your biological daughter for this bitch that you probably was cheating on your wife with when your wife was dying, so that you can then force your daughter to accept the fact that you quickly moved on from your wife. Which, again, if your daughter did not have ill feelings about that shit, you gotta really start accepting the fact that she don't need to do nothing else. Then after you got rid of your daughter, now you're saying, oh, well, I thought you would have matured. Fuck out of here. She was mature enough to tell you that she ain't putting up with this bullshit. She ain't gave you no grief about the short-term marriage, the short notice marriage, no grief about that. She not giving you no grief about these extra damn kids in the house that she's probably got to babysit because she the oldest. She ain't giving you no grief about this woman sleeping in your her mama's bed. So she ain't giving you no grief nowhere else. All she asking you to do is don't force her to call this woman mama. Bro, it don't get no better than that. It don't get no better than that. Because if mom would have still been alive and you would have got a divorce and you married this woman anyway, and then there would have been joint custody and your daughter still treating you with respect, even though you asshole was over here cheating on mama, and that's why you got this extra woman on the side 14 months after mom died. If the child is still respecting you, bro, leave that shit alone, bro. Because the child could have been talking to you like shit because you don't care enough about the late mom that you moved on so quickly that you were capable of establishing the bond that leads to the marriage in 14 months. Do you know how much stuff got to happen in 14 months for you to get married and it not be an impulse marriage? Truth. It takes more than a year. It takes more than 2 years to be confident about a marriage and it not be impulsive. So the red flag that comes in there is what the 10 months before mom died, what the hell was you doing with this woman? Because honestly, unless it's an impulse decision, you are not sure about this in 14 fucking months, because you would assume, okay, think about the timeline, y'all. Think about the timeline. She dies. Month 1, you're grieving. The kids are grieving. Well, you had one child. The child is grieving. You're grieving. You got to go back to work. Month 2, the child might stop grieving. You still got to get your shit together because now you're a single parent and you got to work a full-time job. Month 3, this isn't the babysitter that you marry, so you got to find you a babysitter so that you can go out and start dating. You know that men are striking out on a regular basis. We strike out a lot. In order for us to find one to go on a first date with, we got to be told no between 500 and 1,000 times. So to end up on a date should have taken, starting 3 months after the marriage, the burial, should have taken probably 5 months, 3 to 5 months, because you got a 6-year-old. You got to get her to and from school. Somebody got to pick her up from school. You still got to go to work. Somebody got to be at the house while you going on dates when you're not at work. You got to plan this shit out in order for you to then have this new woman be in enough dates for y'all to be head over heels with one another and then get married. So you're looking at 3 months after the burial, you back out on the dating field, which is short but possible. 3 months into the dating field, you'd have found this person, which is possible. So that's 6 months after the burial. She said 14 months. So y'all dating 7 months and now y'all getting married. That is the most likely outcome that you just had. What the fuck? 7 months. You spent more time with the first mama. You feel me? And then in that 7 months, you might have introduced your 6-year-old to this woman 2 to 3 months before the marriage. If that, might have been a month before the marriage. You might have told her when y'all got engaged, and the time it took for the marriage, because it depends on how expensive the marriage was, is how long y'all delayed, which means that within the first year, y'all like, oh yeah, we're going to get married this summer. All of this is leading me to believe, when we analyze this whole situation, all of this is leading me to believe that this woman was around before your wife died. And the relationship was able to manifest even further because the wife is no longer in the picture. And now you got time to plan a new marriage with a new woman. And the fact that your daughter didn't hate you for that shit, bro, do not force this new woman on your child. And now that your child is 19, your child is an adult. Your child could disown your ass. So if she's willing to have a relationship with you now as an adult, she should not be calling your wife mom, period. Call her by her first name. Because you lucky she calling at all. Because you 14 years of her life, you destroyed that, and then you disowned her because she did not want to accept this other woman. Man, some people. Let's go ahead and check on some more.
Got fired on my first day, and I don't know how to tell my parents. I'm 15 years old, and on my first day I got fired because I went on my phone to check some texts and watch a little bit of TikTok, and when I got off, my manager told me that today is my last day because I went on my phone. I'm really stressed and just want some advice on how to tell my parents.
Well, first thing you got to understand is that y'all jackasses out there doing these fucking TikTok videos, y'all Gen Zs is out here stupid with it. We got long ass lines in McDonald's, Burger King, Dunkin' Donuts, KFC, Popeyes. You know, we got our FedEx shipments being delayed, Amazon shipments being delayed because y'all little bastards is out there doing these raggedy ass TikTok dances and with all of this all afternoon instead of getting my fucking order. So if you stay your ass off your damn phone, speed of service will increase, and then I can get my shit and go on about my damn day instead of standing in a damn line waiting on you to finish the 4th time you did the retake so that you could get the moves down right and then post the shit. Hashtag dancing on the job. Y'all should be fired. You filled out an application. You're supposed to dedicate yourself to the job. One of the rules of the job is no personal phone calls. You're not supposed to be distracted by electronics. And the only time you're supposed to be utilizing your cell phone or any other electronic device is when you're communicating with another employee on the job. You can do whatever you want to do on your break. And you can take you a 30-minute break to do your 1-minute TikTok dance. But you're not supposed to be on the clock doing nothing. If you want to check a text message because your mama sent you something, or you want to check a text message because your ride is coming, you check a text message. You're not supposed to be on social media when you own the clock. But we got folks right now that if y'all look, YouTube, TikTok, Twitch, Twitter, some bitches is live streaming from their job where they got their phone posted up in the corner somewhere and they just live streaming, recording on the fucking job, knowing damn well that company policy is that you're not supposed to have video recording in employee areas because that is restricted areas. You're not supposed to be recording in them areas. You're not supposed to have your cameras on at all in them areas anyway. Your boss told you ain't got no damn job, bro. You only change jobs abruptly for 1 or 2 reasons. You're unhappy with the job and you quit, or the job is unhappy with you and you fire. You 15. This ain't the first time they're gonna fire your ass for this stupid shit. So you recognize that when you take your ass home, you want to walk through the door like Al Bundy, be proud of the fact that you got fired for fucking around on your damn phone. Because odds are your daddy told you don't be on the phone on the job, because that's how people lose their job. That you gonna get that kind of advice from dad. Mom is gonna tell you have a good day at work. Dad gonna tell you don't have your headphones in. You know, it's smart for you to have your uniform on your back before you walk through the door so that when you clock on, you can get right to work. You know, they're gonna give you that advice when dad talk to you, you know, but you're supposed to make sure. And then you got to think about the fact that no job does a 0 tolerance fired on first contact scenario. They'll do that in orientation. They'll do that during the probationary period, first 90 days job. But no job, if you've been on that job for more than 90 days, is going to fire you upon the first time they saw you playing with your phone on the job, unless the job is an extremely dangerous job. But you're 15, so can't be an extremely dangerous job because they do not allow anyone under the age of 18 to be working on an extremely dangerous job. So at 15 years old, you were doing something in some kind of food industry or some warehouse industry or something like that, cashier or some shit like that. You didn't have a lot of work to do or didn't have a lot of customers or whatever, and you thought that you could fuck around on your phone like you usually do when you're in class, which you're not supposed to do in class. Now, because of this, you decided it ain't no big deal. Your boss swung around, caught you the first time and said, hey, no phones on the job. Oh, okay. Next time around, boss came back around and said, hey, I told you before, no phones on the job. Keep that up. I'm going to let you go. Oh, okay. You thought it was bullshit. Next time around, he caught your ass on that damn phone and he like, I done told you before, I got to let you go. They typically do a verbal warning, a written warning, and then if no improvement is done in your behavior, termination. Unless what you did is unexcusable, where it is a one-time terminating action, they typically only do the verbal warning at first, a written warning the second time. So you got wrote up because you was playing with your phone on a job. And then they said in that write-up, and you sign that write-up, that if they catch you playing with the phone on the job again, they will fire you. You thought they was bullshit. You went home, you disregarded it. You didn't use your phone on the job for a little bit. You was doing rushes and stuff. Then the next time you had some downtime, too much downtime, you figured, ain't nobody around. They're not going to see me. Then you got on your phone. You spent too much time on your phone. They caught you again. You might have was doing it in front of a camera. That's a wrap. That's a wrap. So when you go to your house, the first thing you're gonna tell your mama is that your dumb ass fucked up and lost your damn job over a fucking TikTok video. And take your ass out to go find you another one. They said, yep, chemical castration. Chemical castration. Look, I want y'all to see what's going on here. We have to know that there's a time and a place for everything. Certain things, that is not the time, nor is it the place. We are not supposed to be doing nothing on the job besides working for the job to make that money. If you want the kind of job where you can fuck with your phone on the job, be a fucking content creator. Get you a damn drone, have it flying overhead, recording you bullshitting on your phone so that you can post that up on social media and get you 1 million views. The 1 million views will get you like $2,500 a month. So, I mean, that you could do that. You could do that. Then you could do whatever the fuck you want to do. But as long as you got to go and clock in for somebody else on their business site in their brick and mortar establishment and put in physical labor in their brick and mortar site to make you a couple dollars, you put your phone in your pocket, you leave your phone in the car, and you could put the phone in the glove box, you could put it in the trunk, you could put it under the seat, lock your doors, go into and that prevents you from fucking with your phone. Because if your phone is outside the building and your ass is inside the building, you can't check the time, you can't check text, your phone's not ringing, answering phone calls, and leave your headphones in the car too. Leave the earbuds and shit, leave that in the car too. I know they got the glasses right now, the Kumo D glasses. They got the Bluetooth to the phone where they got the headset where you can hear through the glasses. I know they got that shit out there right now. And then you could do like clear frame glasses so that the boss can't tell you, oh, you can't wear those on the job because, you know, you got to be able to see what you're doing on the job. And then if you got the clear frame glasses, you can wear and they think you need to wear glasses. And you sitting over there listening to the new Drake song, but you're not paying attention. And then when somebody comes from behind you with a forklift or something like that, and they done knocked you over with it or spilt something on you, or you get hurt on the job because you did not hear what was going on behind you, you're going to be sitting over there trying to get you a lawsuit on the fact that somebody else fucked you up because you wasn't paying attention to your environment. There's a reason why they don't want you to be distracted on your job. So if at 15 years old, you're not going to follow the rules, you are going to turn over a lot of jobs in your life, because following the fundamentals of getting your foot in the door is going to be the main requirement to getting a promotion. If you can't follow the core rules as an intro employee, how the fuck you going to follow the enhanced rules in upper management? You can't enforce them if you can't follow them. Plain and simple. So you don't know how you're going to come home and tell mom and them that you got fired. Imagine this. You're 15. Imagine this, being 25 and coming home to the same family, probably in the same house, saying the exact same thing, except it's going to be a little bit different. I got fired again. As bad as that second phrase feels, I got fired for the first time in my life, doesn't seem as bad. But recognize the pattern of behavior, because companies are not going to become more lenient to the bullshit that y'all doing, because y'all Gen Zs, y'all want the work-life balance, y'all want the days off, y'all don't want to be called in, y'all strict about y'all personal time. And that's valid to be strict about your personal time. But here we go again, ladies and gentlemen. If you are going to set standards about your personal time being your time, and your boss cannot tell you what to do with your personal time, uniformity dictates that when you flip the script, when you're on the clock, that is your company's time. And you are not supposed to do shit that is not work on company time. You give them your undivided attention so that you can demand anonymity and isolation from the job when you are off the clock. So you should not do anything personal on the clock because you do not want to blend your personal life with your business life. When you are willing to be on call 24/7, sacrificing your personal time for the job, then the job is willing to sacrifice your work time for personal time because you took up all that. If they took up all your personal time happens on the clock. But if you're going to set standards where your personal time cannot be impeded on, then neither can your work time. And that is going to be something that y'all need to understand. You cannot set standards that you're not willing to follow. Notice how this conversation between this boy getting fired off of his job is the exact same conversation as the woman who's working on the job with the fellas coming home with her boyfriend, and she sets the standards and she ain't following the standards. This stuff is not exclusive to just intimate relationships. This behavior pattern is universal with social interactions with your friends, interactions with your family, and interactions in the workforce. A relationship is not just the person you're sleeping with. That's how people recognize it in modern society. But truth be told, a relationship is any intimate or platonic engagement between two parties. So whether it is your best friend that you never seen naked before, family members, bosses, co-workers, the police officer that pulled you over once a month, the people you pass on the street, those are all relationships. They're interactions. They're mostly platonic, but they're all relationships. And the rules for relationships, interactions, communication is universal. The only difference is that when there is an intimate partner involved in a relationship, there is a level of intimacy that can be solidified in the engagements that is enhanced as opposed to the platonic behavior. So the actions and responses that are tolerated in an intimate relationship, long hugs, sniffing each other's hair, kissing each other, smacking butts, these are the things that you're not going to do in platonic relationships. I mean, unless you're on a football team or a basketball team, or if you're the mascot on a cheerleading squad, you might be able to pull it off that time too. But besides those dynamics, no diddy, you're not putting yourself in a position where you're compromising your integrity by changing the dynamics. You notice that the relationship that you have with your employees changes when you become their friend. The more friendly you are, the less people respect you. Believe it or not. Think about how your best friend disrespects you. And the only reason why they talk to you that way and put the ha to it is because you won't slap the shit out of them for what they said or what they did. But notice that your exact same friend does not talk to their boss that way, their mom and dad that way, the girl that they trying to get with, they not talking to that person that way, but they will talk to you that way because you allow it, because y'all friends. Bosses are strict because in order for the boss to maintain the authority, a boss cannot be too friendly. Now, yes, a boss can be a little friendly, a little personal, but a boss cannot be perceived as fragile. Nobody's going to follow a fragile leader. A boss cannot be perceived as weak. A boss cannot be corrupted or manipulated or compromised. So if the boss depends on you in his or her personal life, you now have leverage on the boss, which means the boss is no longer able to tell you what to do, which means the boss loses control over the crew. If you maintain control over the crew, you have to maintain distance from the crew. But this is also another relationship. One of the reasons why they say don't date your employees. Don't date your subordinates. Because as the authority figure, any decisions that you make for the improvement of that person could be perceived as favoritism because you're dating your coworkers or you're dating your employees. Any disciplinary actions that you take on that person could be perceived as bias because of a bad relationship, when you're clearly just disciplining them the way you normally would have disciplined them, specifically because they did a fucked up job. But historically, people have used passive aggressive behavior and promoted people that they were sleeping with and demoted and fired people that they broke up with because they acted on their emotions. Now, these days, those of us that are emotionally intelligent could detach from that relationship and still behave professionally, but your decisions are now considered compromised. So it's not a good idea to date somebody that works for you. It's not a good idea to date somebody that works with you. They can work in the same company, but y'all got to be on different floors. Y'all got to be in different buildings. Y'all got to have different shifts. Y'all do not cross paths on the clock ever, in the break room, in the parking lot ever. Otherwise, y'all can't really work together. It is good to date somebody that is in your field. And I said that earlier tonight, because you can talk to them about things that you do on the job and they can relate. If you work in the police force and your partner works in the police force, y'all can talk about the case. But if you work in the police force and they don't work in the police force, you cannot talk about the case. If you work in a law firm and they work in a law firm, y'all can talk about some stuff. Y'all still got the client privilege thing. But if they're in a law firm, they can't talk to you about some stuff because you do not have the mentality of discretion, meaning that what your partner told you, you're not going to gossip to somebody else because that could get your partner fired. We've got to make changes. And first person accountability needs to be where we begin with those changes. All right, let's go ahead and tiptoe into one more.
Can you believe I got rejected by a dog? So, met a girl on Hinge and we set up a date for this, and she gave me her number so we can text instead of talk over the app. The day before the date, I asked to see a photo of her dog. She sends one after not responding all day and proceeds to cancel the date. From the dog's perspective, I'm Roxy, and sadly I have some bad news. My mom was excited to meet you, but just got out of a relationship and is not ready. Maybe next time. This might be a new low for me all. People, don't pretend to be your dog instead of having an honest conversation.
Shit. What the hell you asking for photos of her dog for? Okay. There are a few dynamics here. The first dynamic is going to be this. In her perspective, it is if she did not have dogs on her profile, you shouldn't be asking her about her dogs. If y'all had a conversation about dogs, then I can see you talking like, oh, can I see a picture of your dog? But really, it should be a situation where she's talking about the dog and then she shows you a picture of the dog. I don't know what turned her off about y'all's date, but what I can say is that a lot of times people get cold feet. They got shit going on. It ain't got nothing to do with you. And they back out of the deal. However they go about doing it, because a lot of people are passive aggressive, they're not going to be bold and say no when you ask them for the date. Because they could clearly be honest. There are a lot of times where people will be a yes person, a conflict avoidant person, which is a bad thing to be, but they will be a conflict avoidant person and agree. And then you've locked into an in-person engagement. You're not ready for it. The time is coming. They get cold feet. It's an hour before the engagement, sometimes 20 minutes before the engagement, and then they cancel. All kinds of excuses. They're going to blame the dog. They're going to blame the kids. They're going to blame the work. They're going to blame I don't know. They're going to come up with something and back out of the deal. Basically, I said, I believe that when situations test a relationship, you really see who people are, and it could be a blessing for you to be able to make a choice if you want to go forward. And that is exactly where I was about to go with this. If you're in an engagement with an individual and you tell them out the gate, I am interested in you, but I have not recovered from my last relationship yet. Can we take this slower? Y'all can maintain video communication over the phone. She gave you her phone number. So instead of texting back and forward, y'all can call each other. Y'all can video call each other, and then eventually just go out for a cup of coffee. Start with just a simple in-person conversation, 30 minutes, and then let's see what happens after that. Y'all don't need to rush into dinner and a movie, because that is committing 4 hours of your night to somebody. Start off with small talk. Start off with, if y'all are able to do 30 minutes to an hour on the phone every day or 3 times a week, then y'all are able to do 25 minutes at a Starbucks or drinking coffee in a McDonald's drive. Get you a fucking frappe. Sit in the time it takes for you to get something out of a drive-thru. That could be your whole date. Sit in the car in a drive-thru trying to get something out of Wendy's. But keep first contact short. Take it slow. Do something simple. Park, something like that. Test the waters, like Bayside said. If you're looking at their situation from the outside looking in and from the other person's perspective, you are, like Bayside said, able to determine how you're going to move forward in this relationship. You never want to put yourself in a position where you are on pause. On pause, not on hold. There's a difference. On pause, meaning that they're interested in you, but they're not going to pursue. They're going to get back to you eventually. You're just going to wait for them? Nah, fuck that shit. If they're actively progressing, meaning that they're going to maintain communication, they're going to try to progress it to at least visual observation, and then try to progress that into platonic in-person engagements, even if it's brief, even if it's like 10, 20 minutes, it should be more time in the date than the time it took to get there, round trip. So if it's a 30-minute round trip, you should have you a 45-minute date. That's it. If it's an hour round trip, it should be an hour, 30-minute date. That's it. Anything more than that, too much if they're coming out of a relationship. But if they tell you that they're coming out of a relationship, you are the rebound. That is the first fucking thing you need to think about is, do you want rebound retaliation in your next relationship? And if the answer to that is no, as soon as they tell you they have been in a relationship within the last 3 months, you skip that person. I mean, you can hang out if you want to, but you skip that person because it typically takes them 50% of the relationship. So if the relationship was 5 years, it takes them 2.5 years to get over that shit. The relationships is 1 year, 5 months, and 6 days. So probably about 9 months is the average that it takes for somebody to get over the last relationship. So if they just got out of the relationship last season and this season they trying to talk to you, that's too soon. You got to give them 6 more months. And in 6 more months, you should be talking to somebody else. So you might want to put a pin in it. But for her to come and hit you with the shit from the dog, if that wasn't a fucking joke, I wouldn't want to talk to her no way, because how the hell are you going to validate your feelings through a damn dog, through a photo of a dog? Fuck out of here. No. That's like sticking your hand up the ass of a puppet and then talking through the puppet, the sock puppets. Oh, I'm Roxy. I'm not going to. Fuck out of here. What you mean? Talking to me, we both grown-ups. This ain't therapy. And even in therapy, they got the long wand thing that could beat your ass when you talking to me like that. Like the therapy bat. Be real. But it is truthfully, though, a blessing. People get discouraged and their feelings get hurt when they get rejected by the other person. And just like Bayside said, it actually could be a blessing that you could make a more appropriate choice about how you want to move forward in your relationships. And outside of that relationship, how you want to move forward in finding another relationship. Because you have to think about the fact that, in all honesty, if that person would not have rejected you, you would have ended up in a bad relationship. So feeling sorry for yourself for being rejected, especially online, a lot of times, just like I told you guys 2 days ago, their actions and decisions could be driven by their ego, which got nothing to do with you. Meaning, some people get validation by making connections on social media, formulating those connections, confirming that those connections are real people, not bots, not spam. And then once they confirm that that's a real person, they have validated their ability to be desired by somebody else, and then they end the communication right there. That might be their whole agenda, is to be acknowledged by another human being. And once they get that, they move on. As shallow as that is, you're a victim of circumstance. It is not you. It doesn't mean that you're not worthy of love. It does not mean that you're not an important person. It does not mean that you're not valuable. It just means that that person only wanted your attention. And once they got it, they moved on. That's not the person for you. Because if you would have dated that person would still be getting that same attention from social media and could quite possibly lead to an affair, because if they get the right proposition from the right person on their social media platform, because note, people that are attention seekers are not going to deactivate their social media platforms because they're in a relationship with you. But you must delete, not turn off, not disable, not go offline with. They want you to delete your profile and the app so that you don't go nowhere else. But they're going to keep theirs. They're just going to put it on silent so that you don't hear the notifications coming in. Think about it now. If your first date and the person that you're talking to taking photos of themselves, taking photos of the food, taking photos of the room, could give two fucks about the fact that they're sitting across the table from you, probably not the person that you want to have a long-term relationship with, because your whole personal life is going to be on social media. I do this channel 7 days a week, and no other area of my house is on this podcast beyond the coffee pot and maybe the stove. That's it. I ain't giving y'all no tours through the house. We ain't getting tours through the neighborhood. We ain't showing you all the people in the family. You seeing me and the two dogs that jump onto the camera when they jump onto the camera. But if you date somebody who's prioritized, so that means when I get off this podcast, the other people in my life will not see me waving cameras in their face for this show. They're not going to see me taking flash photography, make a pose real quick to put up on it. They're not going to see me, TikTok dancing for the thing. I'm going to be living life like I don't have a podcast. Do you know, truth be told, with the almost 40,000 subscribers that I have on this channel, I never once off of this podcast promote my channel deliberately. There have been the rare occasion where I have been in an Uber and we're talking about a concept that I covered on my podcast. And that would be the rare occasion that I would tell somebody, oh, I talked about that on my podcast the other day. And it would kind of just slip out because it was an exact topic that I covered on the podcast. Beyond that, when I interact with individuals, oh, I have this podcast. That is not the first thing I go to. That is not, you would think that I would be like, oh, you should subscribe to my channel. They want my contact information. That I am not going to give them my podcast. Like, oh, you should hit me up on my channel. Fuck you mean? If you want to hit me up, I'm gonna give you a direct number. I'm gonna give you something you can hit a text message to, something you can video call to. I'm not gonna hit the base. I laughing. I'm serious, bro. I'm not gonna. And you got these kids these days, and I'm gonna call them kids because they're child minded, even though they're adults. Oh, I don't feel comfortable with giving you my government name. I don't feel comfortable with giving you my real phone number, man. I give you my IG. I give you my Snap. I give you my TikTok. I give you my Instagram. Nah, fuck all that shit, bitch. If I don't got, especially, didn't I just tell y'all they cutting dudes' dicks off in Louisiana because they ain't old enough? I need to know what your real fucking name is so I can do me a little bit of a background check and make sure that your age is 18 so that I'm not getting locked up for you. So no. If you don't feel comfortable with me, with giving me your real contact information where I can send you a phone call on a real phone number where I can video call you for some real shit. And let's be real now, they got some sideways ass motherfuckers. I give you my WhatsApp. No. I want your legitimate AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile phone number. That's what I want. If you can't give me that, we can't talk. I'm not going to contact you on WhatsApp. Yeah, I know that WhatsApp, you can video call for free over Wi-Fi, but the Wi-Fi coming from your fucking cell phone. Give me your primary cell phone bill, your cell phone bill phone number. If we solidify, I'm gonna end up paying for this damn phone bill no way. So I need to know the damn number. You got to be real now. Look at where your intents are. If they have no intent of being serious. Now, keep in mind, I know people are gonna say, well, I do it so that I don't get scammed. I do it so that I don't get, taken advantage of, and this, that, and the third. But boo-boo. If you got a platform with no followers, you can give me that platform because I'm the only motherfucker you talking to. You add me to 150,000 men that are subscribed to your channel. How the fuck can I say that you are not having a 13-man conversation when I reach out to you? I don't have your undivided attention. I'm one of many. And what's going to happen? We're going to text back and forth over the first couple days. You're going to give me your real phone number anyway, and then I'm going to call you. So if we talking in person, why are we going to backstep to social media so that we can build up the rapport for us to meet in person a second time? If I met you in person, bitch, we skipped the social media conversation. You feel me? We skipped that part because we already met in person. So the next thing we need to be doing is video calling and meeting in person. We should not backstep to social media. Because I'm going to tell you right now, I grew up before social media. I say this a lot, but I grew up before social media. And the one thing I'm not going to do is put my relationship status on social media. If my partner is in the video, then my partner is in the video. We talked about this before we went live. I'm on, she's on. Or we talked about this before I went live. She's in the background, and because she's in the background, I'm pointing at her and saying, wave at her, y'all, she here. But am I going to change my whole channel and put us together on here, change my whole podcast logo because I'm in a fuck no. Y'all got social media statuses where it's, in a relationship, broken up, it's complicated, situationship, single, not single. Literally, that's an option, not single. So you're not in a relationship, but you're not single. Come on now. And you have to update this status on a regular basis. So that, you're not in a relationship no more. What happened? Motherfucker, you ain't never seen in your life. Could be a troll, could be the bitch that you just broke up with trolling you, and they all up in your shit. Why is it that we can wrap our minds around establishing an online presence that validates us with complete strangers that we will never see in our life, but we do not feel comfortable with establishing genuine connections with people in person. If I met you in a grocery store and you don't feel comfortable with giving me your phone number, that's okay. I'm going to keep walking. You're going to offer me your IG, and I already started walking when you told me that you don't feel comfortable with giving out your phone number. I already started walking because 9 times out of 10, your ass talk to me first. I'm that kind of person. You talk to me first. Oh, your dog is so pretty. Yeah, bitch, I know. I don't have ugly dogs rolling with me the same way I don't have ugly bitches rolling with me. You gotta understand. You got to be remotely attractive, because if you not, if you part of the B team, you're not rolling with me. we dealing with frontline infantry. We're talking about starters. We're talking about all stars. You understand what I'm saying? I am less egotistical than what I used to be 20 years ago. But at the same time, you have to be remotely attractive. If I'm a 7 or an 8, you got to be a 7 or an 8 too. You can't be a 4 or a 5 talking about some we just gonna chill. No, we not. You have to be easy on the eyes, and my eyes have astigmatism, so you've got to be easier than that. If I can only look at you with 3 beers in my stomach, that's not gonna work. That's not gonna work. And I know females are gonna say the same thing. You know, I got to have the Dwayne the Rock Johnson biceps and shit. That's fine. If that's what you're looking for and I ain't got it, that's fine. That's fine. That's up to you. You got some that say my tan is too dark. That's fine. I'm okay with that. At the end of the day, y'all got to set y'all standards. If you let me know what you're looking for out the gate, you know, they got some females on these dating platforms where they're looking exclusively for Caucasian men. And I will still say, hey, I'll make it work with you. I don't give a fuck what you into. I'm into you. So if you look at me like, oh, I was into Caucasian men, but I might actually give you a try. You might find something better. Never know. Bayside says, Xander, I think these kids forgot when you make content, it doesn't disappear. They can research your content forever. Like you say, Xander, be appropriate. You got to understand you're right. That's one of the things that they don't pay attention to is that, okay, here's a thing. And I told you guys to do this before. I learned this in 2013. Internet started becoming a thing back in 2009. And 4 years later, I learned this in college. That because everything is going on the internet, you can, like Bayside said, Google yourself, put your legit government name, or in some cases, your nickname, if you use it a lot, into the search bar. And some bitch, you will find photos of yourself, videos of yourself, every profile name that you have created most recently and has updated on a regular basis. They will find, look now, it get deep. Your last 5 to 7 known addresses on public record, your voting status, your phone number. If you've had 6 phone numbers in the last 10 years, they'll tell you about that, what job you're employed on, based off of the fact that you filed taxes, what kind of income you should have based on the kind of career you got, how many people live in your household based on how many people collect mail from the same address as you do, what their relationship is with you, how many family members you got, whether or not they're alive, everybody's age, and remotely, some people's names accurately attached to you on social media. And this is the free search. You ain't even got to pay for a subscription. You ain't got to pay for a private eye. You just got to Google a motherfucker's name, put it into the Samsung Gemini, put it into Gemini Deep Search, Advanced Search, put it in there. Put it in the type that shit into Perplexity. You will find everything about a person that is on social media. So when you post stuff online and you build this online image of yourself, jobs don't hire you because what they find out about you online. People don't do business with you because of what they find out about you online. Look now, fellas, we don't do deep dives on women, but we should. But I guarantee you, after she starts dating you, she gonna put you on that is he cheating on me app. where they take your name and your photo and stick it into this Facebook thing where it throws your identity out to all the Facebook platforms so that the women can talk about whether or not any of the other women know about you dating another woman at the same time that you dating the woman that you with right now. They got that shit out there. These females will find out if you got another female. And if you have multiple dating sites, y'all seen on social media that dude that be breaking up relationships. He don't do it on purpose, but he be breaking up relationships because he'll catch you and say, hey, I got this app and it can scrub the internet and tell me if your partner has other social media apps. And they will put that person's name, the name now, not, oh, let me do a cross check with the photo. Put your partner's name into that app, and that app will tell you every single app that your partner has downloaded onto their phone and when is the last time they logged into it. And 9 times out of 10, when he did that search, they was popping up on Tinder, which is a hookup app. You already know Tinder is about finding hoes. That's what Tinder is about. That's what the Tinder and Backpage are like the 2 pages that they have a reputation. If you have that app on your phone, you already know what that person is about. Like that speaks volume. Tinder speaks volumes. Tinder is like walking down the red light district. That's what Tinder is like. So if Tinder is on your phone and you was just on it 2 hours ago and you're in a relationship, you cheating. Right? You've been dating this girl for 6 months, but you just logged into Tinder yesterday. You cheating based on actions. You didn't even have to have a match. The fact that you'd have logged into that site after you got into a long-term relationship and you're not logging into the site to log off or disable the account. You're logging into the site to check your status, to check contacts. Nah. And this is the dynamic of life. We also have technology is allowing us to keep track of each other, GPS signals. So you got to be careful where you go with your cell phone because they will stalk you. But it's okay because it's a relationship. No, it's not okay. If they're not coming to save you, they don't need to know where you at. You need to be able to check in and they need to be able to take your word off of where you say you're going and where you at. But until y'all change y'all actions, all the shit that y'all doing, TikTok videos and shit on the job, you wondering why these motherfuckers are still got a damn job. They in uniform doing back shots, and then you wonder why they on the unemployment line. I don't. This is the ridiculousness now. This is the ridiculousness. Me and Bayside, we gonna tell y'all got to make better choices. Y'all got to make better choices. Truth of the matter is that the relationships that don't work out because we're not focusing on our relationships. We're focusing on our personal desires. Some of us are focusing on catchbacks instead of focusing on rectifying the problem. We're focusing on winning the argument, not resolving the conflict. And because we're focusing on the wrong thing when we get into the relationship, where women are looking for free entertainment and men are looking for free sex or sex for a reasonable price, we're not walking into the relationship with the right frame of mind. We're not making the right decisions in the relationship. We're not prioritizing the right things in the relationship. And then we're not putting forth the appropriate effort to fix it. Then the relationship falls apart. We have scars because the relationship doesn't just end on a mutual agreement to part ways. It always has a knockout, drag down, fallout that leads to emotional, psychological damage, that leads to trauma, leads to PTSD. It leads to misdirected rage. It leads to lashing out on the rebound. So then the problem is that the longer the rebound relationship lasts, the more trauma that both parties endures from the first relationship, because a rebound, you're playing catchbacks on the partner that you couldn't play catchbacks on the first time around. So when you walk out of your rebound relationship, depending on how toxic your rebound relationship is, your next relationship will be similarly toxic, but a little bit more mild because you got a little bit of it out of your system. but there's still going to be flashbacks. There's still going to be triggers, and there's still going to be trauma, because if you're back to back in relationships where you got out of one relationship and ended up into another relationship in 3 months time, 6 months time, you didn't recover. You have not made any changes in your decision-making process, but here you are yet again dating another person that is the same type as a person that you broke up with, and you're wondering why you have a revolving door of partners, but you blame the other person each time, when the common factor in all of your failed relationships is you. And instead of you figuring out what you are doing wrong in these relationships, you always blame somebody else for why you are not successful. But each of those other persons that walks away from you after you walk away from them, or before you walk away with them, all find somebody else that ends up in an excessively long relationship. Ask yourself, why are all your exes, or most of your exes, locked down permanently, and you are still single, watching this podcast right now, listening to me talk to you about it? If this struck a nerve, think about it. Got to make some changes, okay? Because this happens. You have to make changes on your decisions. And then, since you have actively thought about how you have dated your type, the last 3, 5, 7, 10 relationships you had was your type. Since that was the outcome of dating your type, now it is your goal to date someone that is not your type and see if that person will grow on you. And whatever the longest relationship you have is, make it a goal in your life to exceed that timeline with a person that is not your type. Figure it out. You don't got to be physically attracted to them when y'all first get together. You can grow to love them down the line. You don't have to be emotionally attached to them, head over heels for them when y'all first get together. That motherfucker could be obsessed with you, and you could take that momentum and reciprocate effort and see where it goes. Because if that person makes enough sacrifices for you, you will love them for sacrificing themselves for you. Period. Don't matter who you are. You know, they call trauma bonds when two people who otherwise would not be compatible formulate a bond with one another, specifically because they went through shit together, making sacrifices, keeping each other alive. So relationships, this one said, Dad, nope, not your daddy. But some people will throw out the trauma bond situation. That's really what it is. In the midst of chaos, people will put their lives on the line to save other people. Those people whose lives got saved by somebody else is emotionally indebted to that person. If y'all continuously put y'all lives on the line for one another, y'all formulate a bond of toxicity, because without that chaos, y'all would not have a bond. Because I saved your life cannot be the leverage crutch that is used throughout life for you to stay with me, right? But because I keep saving you, you don't feel safe not being with me. You see what I'm saying? So that keeps that bond there. At the end of the day, outside of trauma bonds, if you have an individual that really wants to be with you, and if your longest relationship was 1.5 years, put 3 years into this one. Put 3 years into this one. Add extra communication, because you already not for it. Add extra communication in there. Add extra patience in there. Brainstorm strategies. Take it slow. You might love the fact that you're being loved by this person, and that might be enough. Truth is, and I had a wise Jamaican tell me once, long time ago, love who love you, brother. It is easier to love someone back than it is to convince them to love you in the first place. That's just how it is. Now, if y'all can have love at first sight, if y'all can both have a mutual attraction to one another upon first contact, that's a thing. But if not, if that person's got the right mentality if they got the right decision-making process, if they're able to appropriately blend into your objectives and your agendas, and you're able to blend your objectives and agendas into their objectives and agendas, where you're willing to work towards their success and they're dedicated to your success, that's 80% of it. All you have to do is fall in love with the fact that they're dedicated to your success, and you're good. Reciprocate. So when you think about this and you redirect your attention and redirect your efforts, you start putting yourself in a position where you're no longer setting unrealistic expectations. Because if you're only attracted to those Chris Brown kind of guys, first sight, yeah, you'll find them. But black eyes, broken jaws, dislocated rotator cuffs, being thrown down flights of stairs, you'll get it. And yeah, they'll take you on red carpets, yachts, private jets. But while you're going through physical therapy, rehabilitating them bone fractures, you got to ask yourself, how many times is you going to get your ass whooped before you start trying to find somebody who's not going to beat your ass? Just think about it. Think about it. Fellas, if she for the streets, why is you trying to pick up that chick from Mons Venus and try to make that chick a housewife, bro? If she for the streets, leave her in the streets. You cannot get you an exotic dancer and then turn her into a housewife. If she was not willing to quit that occupation before she met you, you should not be trying to force her to quit that occupation because you dating her. You might as well just become a bouncer and get a percentage of the cut when she paying the house, because if that's what she was doing when you met her, that's what she's going to be doing when you marry her. It is what it is, bro. You cannot force somebody to change for you. They choose to change for you. They choose to change for themselves, and that type of change is going to be a permanent change. But if they change for you, that change will last the duration of your relationship only if it is their choice. If it is by your request or your demand, that change is going to be short-lived. They're going to do it for a season, and as soon as you do some shit that they don't like, they're going to go back to the way they used to be. Because why the fuck am I putting all this effort into pleasing you if you're not putting any effort to please me? They're going to go back to the way they used to be out of spite, which means that you're still not going to be satisfied. So think about the decisions that y'all make. With that being said, that's all I got for you guys for tonight. We're going to be putting everything together for what we're going to be talking about tomorrow with how politics is negatively impacting our money. We're going to be talking about the stock market and how things is going to be moving forward, because Monday is going to be the first day that the stocks have shifted since Wednesday at 1 o'clock. So we're going to be talking about how things change. We're going to be moving our money around starting on Monday night, Tuesday morning, and getting ready to collect our dividends by Wednesday night so that we can start buying more stock on Thursday, so that we can start getting paid on Friday, so that we can start getting ready for the rest of the weekend, so that when we see ourselves tiptoeing into August, we can start hitting them jackpots. I do have to curate the list for August, because we got a lot of them in August that overlap one another, and I'm going to be giving you the one that have the best payouts, recognizing the difference in dips so that you can get the most money out of the trades, which should be equal to or more than what you would have gotten off of a monthly stock. So we're going to be paying attention to those. With that being said, ladies, as long as the situation doesn't make sense, I'm going to keep asking y'all to make it make sense. So ladies, please make it make sense. And fellas, 75% male-driven podcast from the male's perspective. We're going live every night of the week, and we will not let the sun rise without going live. So make sure that you keep an eye out. We have a lot of the shows that are already pre-scheduled. Go to those shows and hit the notification button on YouTube. It'll give you a push notification when the show goes live. You can still watch us from Twitter or Twitch, but Twitter and Twitch doesn't always let you know that we went live. So make sure you come back, because anytime that we have financial information, we throw it into the comment section. It is going to replay in real time after the show goes off the air. So you come back to the YouTube channel specifically to find out any facts, details, and information on how to make money for you. And any detailed information that I throw into the comment section, you can write that down today, or you can write that down another day when you go back to take a look at the show. Fellas, this podcast is dedicated to making you men higher value men, not only by increasing your financial status, but increasing your decision-making process, because your personal success is just as important as your financial success. So we want to make sure that we work on both halves of that. You're going to see us talk about your money on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. We're going to see you talking about your personal decision-making process on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And today, Sunday, days like today, we're going to be covering just about everything with the questions and comments from the fans. With that being said, I want to thank you guys for coming to This and That, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. Special shout out to Bayside from YouTube. Special shout out to Steve from Twitter. And special shout out to Omni81 and Red Void from and Danny Steffen from Twitch. I really appreciate you guys for coming to the show, and I'll see you guys tomorrow night.
Chase validation, now I validate myself. Building inner strength, putting doubt upon the shelf. No more unnecessary drama, no more wasted time. Climbing higher, constantly making my own climb. My network is my net worth. Choose your company wise. Surround yourself with eagles, not with sheep in disguise. Every interaction is a reflection of my brand. Quality over quantity, that's my personal command.